To this computer. And we're recording. Good. Last day of class. Final exam is next week on Wednesday. Um, it's going to be on chapters 6 and 7. It's going to be the same format as everything you've done up to this point, like the last test. Multiple choice, true, false, and free response questions. So I'm not trying to trick anybody. For those of you moving on to 161, tests are going to look the same. As I said before, it's on chapter 6 and 7, but chapter 6, we used chapter 5, which was methods to make our class. Chapter 7, you're finding out it's a lot of looping, which is chapter 4. And if you remember, chapter 3 was if statements, which we're constantly using. So it's cumulative in a sense. But any questions on the final exam?
May I ask how many questions it would be?
6,420.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah, approximately.
I mean, the exam is going to be based on the two topic we learned, right?
Chapter 6 and chapter 7. That's
Okay.
correct. And I'm looking it up as we speak. The number of questions is boom, 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 boom. One has 57 questions, 50 true, false, multiple choice, and then 7 short responses like we've been doing up to this point. Okay. And again, 6 and 7. Cool. Okay. Last class, we were in chapter 7. Chapter 7 is something cool called arrays. Um, we did the array name was the memory address. That's where I got started. And then I moved blocks. If I'm storing characters, I move blocks of 2 bytes at a time past that memory spot to get to the next item. If it was an integer, we moved 4 bytes each time. So we looked at that. We ended up doing a program where we were passing arrays, we were returning arrays. So we did a whole bunch of work with the array data type. Well, today we're going to take the arrays and we're going to put them on a little bit of steroids. And for those of you, hang on, for those of you whose favorite game is tic tac toe, I'm going to go to this. I'm going to go to view speaker and I'm going to go to here. And all of a sudden, I say, well, what if I asked you to write the game of tic tac toe? How would you store the information? Well, I would probably store it as characters, right? And I go 3 across. So what if I stored these 3 as one array? Like row one array, row two array, row three array. Well, what we've learned up to this point, that would suffice. I could be able to score. If I wanted to check the winner, I could check if all 3 of these are the same, or I could check how many ways could you win at tic tac toe?
Two, I think. Two, two or one.
No, no, I could have 3 in a row here. That's one way. 2 ways, 3 ways, 4 ways, 5 ways, 6 ways, 7 ways, 8 ways. There's 8 ways to win.
I mean, like, it's kind of difficult when you play, like, I mean, like, okay, never mind. Okay.
That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, I mean, we'd have all kinds of great game when you're young to learn to play, logical thinking, how you're going to lay all this out. One time I had a student write a program for a final project, 3D tic tac toe. So it was 3 levels like this. But this is cumbersome, and this idea may come up more often. You've had math classes, I'm sure, that you've had something like this, the old matrix, not the one where they're shooting the bullets, but the matrix. Lie. So now we need to learn a way that's a little better to store it instead of three single arrays. And what we come up with is something that's called a two-dimensional array. Okay? Yeah, tic-tac-toe, like a spreadsheet. If I said we're playing tic-tac-toe, what row and what column would you like to pick for your next move? Now, in our world, we know we're doing row zero, row one, and row two, but we're also taking a look at column one, column zero, column two. So we're going to use this thing called a two-dimensional array to get us to like this location, row one, column two. And what we're going to see in a minute is how we do that. So again, this is row one, column two. Here's the number 6. Matrices. There's just a bunch of different, storing it like a spreadsheet. The only thing we have to remember is this word homogeneous. What I mean by that is the homogeneous data. Just like we talked about with a one dimensional, right? All the data has to be the same type, be it integers, be it chars, be it strings, they all have to be the same type. Okay, so how do we declare a two-dimensional array? Well, we're now going to go with two sets of square brackets. This is my data type. This is my data type. Two sets of square brackets. You notice I'm putting the dimensions in. Those of you moving on to C++, it's going to be a little different than that. But here it is again. Data type, the name equals new, the data type. Ever since we've learned classes about classes, we've started to incorporate this, and it now makes a little more sense. And again, scores sub row 0, column 0 equals 4. We put the 4 up there. Now, when I'm working with two-dimensional arrays, there's a really good chance that, as you can see, I'm going to be working with nested loops. We played around with them a little bit, but now they're coming back a lot more. A loop inside of a loop. Okay? Let's take a look at how this is going to work, because this is going to help you to traverse through all of the options in our array. It's going to help you traverse through it. We start out row equals 0. Then it comes in and does column equals 0, column equals 1, column equals 2. And as you see, I have a variable list here where, row is 0, column is 0, boom. Then row is 0, column 1, row 0, column 2. It finishes this inner loop and goes back to the outer loop. We have an inner loop, we have an outer loop. We played around a little bit with changing these to see how many times things run. When you get into 161, you'll do a lot of this with sorting. So this is like a good generic layout for what you're going to do. You may be inputting and storing data. You may be looping through to take a look at the data and add all the numbers up. You may be looping through to print things out. So there's a lot of reasons to traverse through this two-dimensional array so I can get what I want out of it. But this is nice standard code for what you're going to be doing next. Just like before, Chewbacca, 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 I can implicitly initialize the array. A set of sets from your math background. This is set notation. Those braces, braces and braces. If that ever comes up, I could get ready and do that. What do you think? Back to the world of matrices. If I have a matrix, 1, 4, 2, 3, 8, 6, 2, 4, 6. Matrix number 1. Matrix number 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And I said, I'd like to add these matrices, my resultant matrix would be location added to location. 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. 2 plus 5 is 7. And I would keep going on from there. 4, 10, 7, 4, 5, 7. Okay, the way to add matrices. Well, I'm going to give you an in-class program. This is a shorty today. I'm going to give you an in-class program that you are going to fill this matrix with numbers. You're going to fill this matrix with numbers. You are going to add these two matrices and then display, display, display. Let's see. This fill is going to be the same as this fill. So if I write a method, I can use it twice. If I'm going to display this one, I'm going to use that actually 3 times. Questions? I'm going to make that a little clearer in a second here. All right. If I go to D2L, shoo-be-doo-be-doo, shoo-doo-be-doo-be, and don't let them see the final exam. All you see is the questions are 7 and 6. If I go to the home page on D2L, what do we got? Oh, here's the main. Here is the main for the program I want you to write. I have 3 matrices. I call the first one A, the second one B, and the third one sub. I'm declaring matrices of integer array. We could do any sizes. We're just going to stick with 3 so it's not very long. Do you notice I'm passing in the address of matrix A into the method fill? I'm passing the address of matrix B into the method fill. I use print 3 different times. And I have one that's going to pass in A, B, and sum, and inside of there. So every one of these loops is going to have that nested, or excuse me, every one of these methods is going to have that nested for loop that I was just talking about. So that's all we're doing today. That's pretty much the end of my show for the semester. Can I get a woohoo?
Woohoo.
Yeah, it's the end of my show, but this is what I wanted you to do today. And you notice you're using loops, you're using methods, you're using arrays. So a lot of what you're doing here is a compilation of the course. Are there any questions?